The Darkangel Chapter 10 The Witch's Dogs. Iriel and the lion set off across the sand, travelling southward away from the centre of the world and towards the border of the plain. But it seemed to Iriel as she sat or lay along the Leosol's back, ate or slept or gazed at the endless dunes beneath the stars, that a subtle difference was present now. Some aspect of the lion's stride or breath, or the flexing of muscles along his back, betrayed tension. Though the pendulum never said a word, Iriel found herself, now and again, glancing back to scan the dunes behind, marked by the lion's trail of paw prints over the sand. They were little more than halfway to the borderland when Iriel spotted their pursuers. Solstar had declined midway towards the east horizon. What she saw were no more than white specks, a very long way behind them, and lopping eastward out of the western north. At first, Iriel thought nothing of them, guessing whatever they were, be it lopping dogs or deer or long-legged running birds, would cross her and the lion's trail far back at a slant and continue on to the east. Then she saw one of the creatures, still no more than a pale dot, stop dead behind them over the lion's tracks, and she heard it sing out a strange, savage, sweet cry, as if calling its fellows to trail. Even from afar, the cry reached faintly, clearly to Iriel's ears. She felt the lion suddenly tense. He jerked his head around. "Odds," she heard him mumble. "I was afraid of that those two might be to their mistress and back before I could get you safely to the plain." "Back?" said Iriel. She could not remember having seen such a pack of creatures before, and there were more than two, at least a dozen of them, falling in behind the leading pair and coursing down the trail. They were still too far for her to make out clearly what they were. "Pendulum, what are they?" But the lion only said, "Hold tight, daughter, and let me save my breath for running. Happily, if we can lose them, you will not need to know." His answer puzzled her, frightened her. Iriel buried her forearms in the Leosol's fiery mane, tightened her knees as the sun lion launched into a faster pace. The wind whipped at her. Iriel pressed herself against the pendulum and glanced back. Their pursuers had gained a little, were near enough now for Iriel to see they were 4-footed and smaller than the great cat by several times. She turned back to the lion. "But why do we flee then?" she cried in his ear. "Are you not Pendulum, and every natural denizen of this region your ally?" She heard the Leosol laugh, a hard-edged laugh with no humour in it. "Ah, these are no natural creatures, daughter. They belong to the White Witch of the Lake." "The lake," Iriel said slowly, more to herself than to him. Memory stirred. A still, dead lake in the middle of a canyon, at desert's western edge. She remembered the story that Derna had told her, the last tale she'd told the Darkangel. "But what business has this witch with you?" "She seeks to rule my ward," replied the lion, panting, "as the Icarus now rules Averick." Despite his shortness of breath, his tone was low and measured. "She has dwelt in that lake since before my making and cannot be driven out. But though she herself is confined to its waters, she sends her spiles and catspaws out over my desert, working her mischief. I kill them when I can." Iriel let out her own breath and realized she'd been holding it. She felt cold. She leaned closer to the sun lion's warmth. "But now," the pendulum was saying, "I think I would rather outrun these than fight. I have you to look after, and your prize." Iriel eased her grip on the lion, just long enough to touch the little black velvet bag that hung, still empty seeming from the thong about her neck. Her heavy knobbed walking stick lay slung from her wrist, tapping against her leg, and sighed as the Leosol sped. Iriel turned again to look behind her, and her heart recoiled. Gradually, steadily, the witch's creatures were lessening the space between themselves and their quarry. Solstar had travelled 3 times its own diameter further towards the horizon's edge when they drew close enough to Iriel to make out clearly what they were. They looked to her like long-legged dogs, with great upright ears, massy humping shoulders, and whisk hair tails. They were pale, very pale in colour, a ghostly hue that shone like dim earthshine, and they were spotted, their backs and sides covered with broken rosettes like those of pards. Blots the blackness of an ermine's eye, or a starless night, or a dark angel's wings. Iriel shivered suddenly, realizing she'd seen two such creatures before from a distance as the lion had bore her to the equestrial. They ran in two long lines of half-dozen each, these dogs, flanking the Leosol's trail. The lines alternately lengthened and bunched, never stable and never steady. Their members constantly sprang sideways over each other's backs as they ran, changing places like gazelles. The luminous pallor of their coats hung like haze before Iriel's vision. The darkness of their spots seemed to shimmer and shift. She found she could watch them only in glances, or her head began to ache and her stomach stir uneasily. They were singing a song as they came, a crooning that soared and dropped suddenly down scales with never a pause for breath. It made Iriel's ears ring, but it was only when they had drawn even closer that Iriel noticed their eyes. Intense and angry red as carbuncles, they glowed, eyes with neither iris nor pupil nor lid. Iriel shrank away from them against the lion. Seeing her, the pursuers yipped and yapped with laughter, slavering and snapping at their jaws. "Jackals!" Iriel whispered. "Jackals! Jackals!" "Aye, daughter," the lion nodded. His breath was coming shorter now. "The witch's dogs." "Can we go no faster?" Iriel cried, clutching him. "They are fairly nipping at your heels." The pale, bounding jackals gave another bark of glee, and Iriel realized their great prickled ears must be able to hear even her tight-throated whisper. The Leosol turned his head. "Not I fear and keep you aboard," he told her. Iriel felt her desperation rising. Her limbs already ached with the strain of resisting the wind. The pendulum eyed the gaining dogs, then Solstar, and then the stars. "Daughter, I'd hoped to get you safe across the border," he rumbled at last. "These creatures take great mastery to wield at any distance from the witch's mare, and her might is much weakened by desert's edge. But pah!" He snorted angrily. "I think we shall have to face them now." Iriel felt herself pale. The jackals hooted and snatched at the air with their teeth. The Leosols growled. "But hold fast to me first," he bade her. "If face them we must, let us at least choose our own ground." With that he sprang away suddenly in such an unaccustomed burst of speed that Iriel was dizzied. She locked her arms and her legs about him. Behind them the jackals sent up a wild yell, not of dismay, but as of triumph. Their hunting song grew suddenly bolder and fiercer. Turning, Iriel saw the doubled line of the red-eyed dogs dashing in pursuit. The wind buffeting her was so intense, Iriel could scarcely breathe. She felt her hands slipping on the lion's hot silk mane, her knees dragging along his side as the rush of air shoved her back from his shoulders. Gritting her teeth and clenching her eyes, she clasped him as hard as she could. Even that was not enough. She felt herself beginning to slip. The lion stopped, smoothly, without jolt, but instantly. Iriel clung to him, dazed. Her body felt numb in the sudden cessation of wind. She gasped for breath. "Quick, daughter," the cat was crying, shrugging his shoulders to help her off. "To the ground! We must stand ready!" Iriel tumbled to the sand, knelt a moment on hands and knees, winded. The Leosol had brought them partway up the steep lee side of a dune. The lee slope slanted sharply away in front of them, towards the oncoming jackals. Behind her, Iriel saw the top of the same slope, recurving to hang above her, and the pendulum like a crest of frozen wave, preventing attack from the rear. Iriel scrambled to her feet and pulled her walking stick from her wrist. The lion had already faced about toward the double line of jackals coursing up the slope. "Remember, daughter," the lion said as she took her place beside him. "Stand flank to flank with me, and do not let them part us. Odds!" He growled in an undertone, seemingly more to himself than to her. A pair, or even 4 of them would be no hard task to dispatch, but so many! I have never seen the like. Iriel stood breathing fast and deeply to steady herself. Gripping her staff, she gazed at the swiftly approaching pack. Beside her the pendulum snorted and shook his head. "Faith," he murmured, "their mistress's might must be growing vast." The witch's dogs lopped, to within 10 paces of the Leosol and halted. The two leaders came a few paces further, then sat regarding their quarry with hot, deep red eyes, whilst the rest of the pack milled and trotted behind them, leaping over one another in a disturbing confusion of light and dark. Iriel turned her eyes from them and studied the leader instead. The one to the left, nearest the Leosol, was slimmer, a female, her brawnier companion across from Iriel, a male. They licked their lips and panted, waiting. Iriel fingered her walking stick nervously, wondered which end might make the better weapon, the knotted head or the pointed heel. All the while the weaving pack never gave up their high humming song. Then the shaggy jackal spoke to the pendulum, ignoring Iriel. "So, lion," he said, grinning, "so." Gloating, he made his voice thick. His white dark coat shimmered eerily. Behind him the witch's pack dogs prowled. Half were heavy-shouldered like himself, the others slighter like the brat beside him. "Give up your rider to us, lion," the jackal said. "Our mistress wants her." Iriel's eyes widened. They wanted her? She thought they pursued the pendulum. She heard the Leosol rumbling in his deep throat. "By Our Lady Ravanna," he answered, low and dangerous, "I am unaccustomed to obeying your commands." Iriel racked her wits. What could the water witch of the desert lake want with her? The pendulum growled at the dogs. "I kill your kind." The jackal cut him off. "Ah! But that is all in the past now, lionling. When you came upon us singly or in pairs, now we in a pack have run you down, and you know very well you cannot stand against us." He rose and arched his back, lazily stretching. "Still, it is not you we want today, only your passenger. Give her up to us, or we'll take her." The rumble in the pendulum's throat grew darker, halfway between a purr and a growl. Sounded to Iriel like the dull thunder of approaching hooves. An answering growl arose from the jackal's throat. He lowered his head. Iriel tensed, but then the other jackal, the brat, slunk forward a pace or two. "But softly now," she mused. Behind her the others wove and leapfrogged. Above their hunting song they whined impatiently and licked their teeth. "Why always conflict?" said the brat, "when simple persuasion may suffice." Her round, lidless eyes gleamed red and cunning. "Come, cat," she murmured to the pendulum. "Why resist? Hand over your prize willingly, and you will earn Our Lady's gratitude. Join us." Her voice grew softer still, even more winning. "Our mistress can grant you whatever you desire." "The one thing I desire, jackal brat," the lion roared, "is to see your mistress overthrown." All the jackals fell back snarling. Iriel herself flinched at the force of the pendulum's words. "Fool!" hissed the witch's dog. Her companions gathered themselves. "Cat! Fool!" Then, all of a sudden, the jackals sprang, half lunged for the Leosol and half for Iriel. Catching up her walking stick near the pointed base, Iriel swung its heavy, knobbed crown in a wide arc, almost before she had time to think. The witch's dog ducked, fell back, and then sprang again. Again Iriel swung, and once more the jackals shied just out of reach. To the side of her, Iriel heard the lion fending off his own attackers with savage growls and swipes of his paw. Iriel kept her eyes on the pack before her. As they regrouped, still humming above the snarls, still bounding, still weaving, and staring at her with their carbuncle eyes, she realized how they had bunched themselves. The quick, slender brats all dodged and darted about the lion, ducking under his guard, one at a time to worry him with their teeth. Casting a brief glance in his direction, Iriel saw golden blood streaking the whiteness of his coat. The slower, more powerful dog jackals faced Iriel. She gripped her walking staff, watching them intently, trying to follow their movements despite the confusing shimmer of light and dark. Her clenched fingers hurt. Then suddenly, almost before she could react, one of the jackals lunged at her. Iriel cried out, stumbled back, and jabbed with her walking stick, too slowly. A scream escaped her throat as the jackal's jaws closed over her wrist. She felt no pain. No crunch of bone, nothing. Iriel stared. The jackal's teeth met and passed through her like vapour. Her staff, as she thrust it, met no resistance. It glided through her attacker's chest and shoulders as though through empty air. She heard the dog jackal's yipping, snarling laughter. The one before her fell back grinning and growling. Iriel stood as if knocked breathless, staring at her whole unwounded wrist. "Lion," she stammered. "Pendulon, what is it?" Her jackals crouched back from her in a semicircle, barking in a gleeful, red-eyed malice. "It passed through my hand. My stick went right through. What manner of beast are they?" The Leosaur glanced over only one shoulder and stared at her, startled, but only for a moment. His pack of jackals had not paused, even to taunt him with laughter. Iriel saw more blood on the lion's coat, though for the most part he seemed to be keeping the bracts at bay with furious snaps of his jaws and powerful swings of his paw. "Spectres!" he cried suddenly. "Daughter, I should have seen it!" Now it was Iriel's turn to stare. "Spectres?" she murmured. Her mind seemed too dull to take it in. It came to her slowly then, the memory of Bomber's cradle tales with their spectres, images without substance, able to be seen and heard but neither touched nor felt. Iriel shook her head, catching sight once more of the sun lion's golden blood. "But you are wounded," she exclaimed. "How could they have harmed you?" Her jackals had begun to mill and circle again, heads lowered and grinning. Iriel brandished her stick, wondering what good it would do. The witch's dogs redoubled their mocking laughter. "Desert jackals only run in pairs, daughter," panted the Pendulon, keeping his own attackers back. "I grasp it now. The witch could not have had time to assemble all her jackals, nor has she power to control them all so far from her." One of the brats came too close. Iriel caught a glimpse of the lion's paw passing through her solid-seeming body. "Only 2 of this pack can be real," the lion muttered. "The rest are created in their images to confound us." He coughed at another brat jackal, and his paw only met empty air. "Only 2 of the pack were real," he'd said, thought Iriel. His bright blood gleamed from the flesh wounds on his shoulders and forelegs. But those 2 real dogs were obviously dangerous and lost in this shifting crowd. "How may we find them?" she cried. All the dog jackals prowling before her looked exactly alike, as did the brats. "We cannot," gasped the lion, lunging and fainting. "She has made perfect likenesses. We dare not disregard any of them, lest—" His words ended in a snarl. Iriel turned in time to see one of the brat jackals, the real one, clearly sink her teeth into the cat's great pad, draw blood, then dodge out of reach before he could knock her away. "They're just toying with us," thought Iriel, "for sport. They could have finished up long since, did they not so joy in baiting us." Iriel felt a sudden rush of motion along her side and realized she had dropped her guard. Something hot and sharp grazed her forearm. She whirled away with a cry, bringing her knotted stick down on a solid shaggy bulk, and she heard a yip of pain, surprise, and the dog jackal fell quietly back, head low, blank, lidless eyes glowing at her. "He is the one," thought Iriel. Her heart lifted. She ignored the pain of the gash along her arm. "If I can but keep my eye on him." She aimed another blow of her staff at the witch's dog, but he fell back from her deliberately, lost himself in the shifting shimmer of his fellows. Iriel could not keep her eyes on him in the dance of spots. The jackals sang their hunting song and laughed. Iriel halted, afraid to advance more than a pace from the lion's side, lest one slip behind her. Iriel heard a sharp yelp from one of the Pendulon's jackals, and glanced to see a back tumbling away from the Leosaur's mighty paw. For an instant, all the other brats vanished. Down slope, the brat he had struck, the real one, staggered to her feet. One forepaw crumpled to her chest and shook her head. Her fellows suddenly reappeared, barking and lunging about the lion's ears to no effect. He had the real one in his sight, and she was injured. She could not leap and lose herself amongst the others. Iriel saw the great cat belly down to the sand and move fluidly forward. His golden blood gleamed in the light of Solstar. Blood on the teeth, thought Iriel suddenly, returning her mind to her own fight now. Only a real jackal can harm me. Only the real one has wounded me. Her slashed arm ached. The real witch dog, Iriel realized, must have my blood on his teeth. She searched the miasma of roving red eyes and broken black spots before her. She tried to find fangs and stared at them. Yes! One of the jackals did have a smear of rose on his white-curled lip. He stood out from the others now as she recognized how to spot him, and she realized too as she studied him that only he cast the shadow against the orange sand. Gripping her walking stick, she darted towards him and landed 3 quick blows to his head and shoulders. He barked, snarled, and backed away from her. She followed, ignoring the howling pack of spectres that sprang at her. She waded through their nothingness and aimed again at the one witch dog she knew was real. "Stop!" the jackal growled at her. He crouched, shoulders hunched. No laughter thickened his voice now. Abruptly the noise of the others ceased. Their images vanished. Iriel was dimly aware in the sudden stillness that the false bracts about the pendulum had also vanished. "Enough!" The jackal crouched before her snarled. "You recognize I am the one. Very well. I shall stop toying with you. Even without my spectres, I can kill you. Do you really think that stick would stop me?" "The pendulum will soon finish with your mate," panted Iriel. Despite the other's surly confidence, she felt flushed and dangerous. "Do you think you could stand against him?" "I said enough," the jackal snarled. "I do not intend to stand against him. I intend to kill you and run. Have done with this game and save yourself death. Hand over to me the star horse's hoof." Iriel stared at him, startled. Was it the star hoof they truly sought and not her? She felt a brief rush of gratification flit through her to realize perhaps she'd done the right thing in taking the hoof, interpreted the rhyme, and the little mage's hurried instructions correctly after all. She blinked once to clear her thoughts and searched her mind for cunning. And what if I had this thing you asked for?" she started, trying for a tone of confidence, even scorn. She was winded. She needed rest. "What would you do with it?" "There's no if," the jackal barked. "The lion took you to the horse. So much we can guess. What other reason than to have its hoof? And my fellow servants have been scouring these dunes 12 years to find it." "But why?" demanded Iriel, stalling. Would the lion never come? From one corner of her eye she caught sight of him now, halfway down the slope, almost caught up to the limping, fleeing Brack. "Our mistress requires it," the dog jackal snapped, baring fang. "Ask no more. Hand it to me." Iriel shook her head slowly, held tight her walking stick, her muscles tensed, eyes on the jackal, but she made her face and voice all ignorance. "I do not have it," she replied. "This robe has no pockets." She raised her arm slightly to show him. "Do you think I might secrete anything upon my person?" The jackal cocked his head, eyed her with red suspicion. Iriel dropped her arms. "I brought back nothing of the star horse. He was dead." "Liar!" spat the jackal. "You have it! You must! Somewhere upon you! That pouch!" Iriel lifted the black velvet bag, still slung from a thong about her neck, prayed for the lion to come. She wrung the limp bag in one hand. "It holds nothing." In the background she heard the death cry of the brack in the lion's jaws. "Liar!" The witch dog growled again, his muscles bunching, his eyes upon the pouch. "More likely charmed, and only empty seeming." He sprang. So suddenly Iriel was taken by surprise. Snatching the bag in his teeth from her hand, he knocked her back, and she cried out and used her staff to ward him off. Falling, she felt the thong break from about her neck. The hard sand knocked the breath from her. The jackal came down upon her. For one instant his red carbuncle eyes glared at her. His hot, foul breath scathed her cheek. Then she heard the lion's roar. and the jackal sprang away. She scrambled to her knees and saw, all in an instant, the witch's dog already 2 bounds down slope, the pendulum crouching over the fallen brack. A long wound was torn along his left leg and shoulder. She had not seen that slash before. His stance during the fight had hidden it. The jackal fled. "Pendulum, stop him!" Ariel cried. "He has the pouch!" But she realized, even as she heard herself speaking, that with such a wound, even the Leoson could not have caught him. The great cat staggered to his feet, lurched half a pace towards her. "Ariel," he called, but his voice seemed oddly weakened and strained. "Ariel, your staff!" But Ariel's thoughts were already ahead of his words. Scrambling up from her knees, she snatched at her staff lying where she dropped it when she fell. Just out of reach it slipped beneath her fingertips, sifted further into the coarse, slippery sand. Ariel lunged for the stick, caught it up, whirled. She saw the pale, dark-spotted jackal, pouch in teeth, now halfway to the foot of the slope. Gauging the distance in that instant, she knew were she to wait even half a second more he would be beyond her range and away. Ariel gathered herself. Without a pause, striving to recall everything Oratoto had taught her, she flexed her arm and cocked her wrist, took 2 half-running strides, and threw. The knotted staff arched up, sailed high like a javelin, point first. Reaching its zenith, it hung a moment against the black starlit sky. Then it plunged, dropped. Ariel, standing, halted, panting on the hill crest. She saw the jackal, unaware of the danger overhead, squinting down the pale orange dune side straight for the point where the shaft would come to earth. The thrown stick fell, and just before it hit home, Ariel's wrist flick as she had launched it caught up with the shaft, snapped it around, so the great knob of the head struck the dog's skull like a stone. Ariel saw the jackal's somersault, the black pouch fly from his teeth, and she heard no cry. A great splash of sand flew up as the jackal landed and rolled limply a few paces to the slope's foot, and lay still. "Well done, daughter!" she heard the lion's cry dimly above the harshness of her own breathing and the pounding of her heart. "Well done!" Ariel half ran, half waded down the brittle-crusted, sliding slope, then to retrieve the Durra's velvet bag and her walking stick. The jackal was dead. As Ariel knelt in the sand beside him, she saw his eyes were clear now, colourless as glass and no longer red. The whiteness of his pelt, too, was losing its lambence, and once depthless black of its roseate spots had dulled. Looking flat and dusty now, her pulse and breathing quieted. Ariel lifted the velvet pouch and brushed the sand grains from it, reached her hand inside to be sure the equestrial's hoof was still within and unharmed. It was. Ariel felt its cold, smooth, uneven solidity against her fingertips. She reknotted the broken thong and slipped it once more about her neck. Retrieving her walking stick, she rose, turned away from the dead jackal, and started back up the slope. The pendulum reclined upon the sand, facing away from Ariel. The dead brat lay nearby him. Her eyes, like her mate's, had also gone colourless. Her spotted coat, likewise, lost the gleam of its whiteness and the depth of its shadows. But as Ariel drew near the reclining sun lion, she noticed another thing too. His coat had faded. Its fiery radiance was weaker. His fallow mane no longer fiercely glowed. His own pelt, the brat beside him, and the sand were all splattered with bright golden blood. Ariel stared a moment in utter astonishment, then she ran to him. Falling to her knees beside him, she found him barely able to raise his cheek from the sand. "Pendulum!" she cried, taking his great shaggy head onto her lap. "Pendulum, you're sorely hurt." "No, daughter," he scoffed faintly. "A little, only a little." "What may I do for you?" she exclaimed, reaching to press his wounded shoulder in effort to stanch the blood that oozed there. But in the next instant, she had caught her hand back with a cry. The long golden slash was as hot as burning butter. "No, do not touch my shoulder, child," the Leoso told her. "Our bodies, the bodies of the Lons, are not like yours. We are made of a fiercer, more volatile stuff." His voice faded to a whisper. He drew breath. "But do not fear." "I do, though," Iriel told him, stroking his pale silk mane with her free hand. Her chest was tight. Her voice trembled. "Lion, I do fear." He smiled faintly and seemed to gather himself. From deep in his throat she almost thought she heard a purr. "Do not. I will be well again, enough, before sun reaches noon next day month." Ravanna gave her wardens power to heal themselves at need. "But how may I aid you?" she whispered, already reaching the pouch at her throat. "Do you require food?" He shook his head. "No, but I require rest." He closed his eyes a moment as though too weary to continue. Iriel felt her own helplessness knotting like a fist about her throat. "But what may I do?" she cried softly. "Tell." He opened his eyes then, and she saw their golden fire at least had remained undimmed. It gave her courage. "Look to yourself," he told her. "First your arm is wounded. Solve a little of my blood upon it. It will help it heal." Iriel shook her head and made to protest. How could she tend her own scratches when he lay so hurt? But the lion's eyes compelled her. Slowly, reluctantly, she spread a little of the hot substance from her hand along the long, shallow slash on her forearm. The golden stuff first burned, then tingled with a soothing warmth. "Lion?" Iriel started, but again the great cat shook his head. "Daughter," he interrupted, "surely you can see. I cannot bear you any further towards the desert's edge. This wound of mine will mend in time, but I must lie here long hours in the light of Solstar, drawing strength from it before I am sound again. You must go on alone." "I won't leave you," Ariel cried, almost before she herself was aware she'd spoken. "Pendulon!" "You must," the Leal Soul replied, and here, despite its weakness, his tone grew stern. "But a single day-month remains until the vampire flies. In that time you must return to his keep and give the Avaclon's immortal hoof into the hands of the Durrer." Iriel felt her heart grow cold at the mention of the Icarus. She had hardly thought of him in many day-months. "Otherwise the Darkangel will have his final bride," the lion said, "and all our efforts, yours, mine, the little major's, will be undone. Is that what you would have?" Iriel shook her head. Her heart felt now bitten in two. She grieved to leave the lion so alone upon the dunes, and she feared also returning to the vampire's keep. She bent her head over the pendulon. "No," she whispered, "no." She did not realize she was weeping till she saw the tears falling upon his mane. "Peace, child," the lion told her. "Courage." "I have no courage," she replied. "I am not brave." "So you continue to claim." She was not sure whether she heard a trace of amusement in his voice or not. The Leal Soul let her alone then, closed his eyes to rest. Iriel let the tears fall until no more would come. Then she scrubbed the burning gold from her one hand with dry sand and found her walking stick. The pendulon opened his eyes. She put her arms about his shaggy neck, rested her head against his tawny mane. "Since I must go, I shall," she whispered. "I am no help to you here." Trying to breathe smoothly now, she had not tears or strength left to weep. "Goodbye. You have helped me much." "Farewell, daughter," the lion said. "Do you know the way?" "South," she answered. "Due south to desert's edge and across the plain." "Pendulon, shall ever I see you again?" "Perhaps," the great cat said, "though much rides on chance and the gods and your own skill. Be off now, child, and the luck of the stars run with you." Iriel held to him for a moment, then rose and turned away. She started up slope towards the dune crest. The sand slid under her feet. The sun on her left was already 2/3 of the distance towards the horizon's edge. With luck she might reach the plains by dusk. Her shadow streamed out long and black across the dune face to her right. She reached the crest and looked behind her. The pendulum lay by the fallen brack, his eyes now closed again, his breathing shallow but regular. The light of Solstar bathed him and his wounds. Iriel would have paused to watch him if she'd let herself. She wanted to. She made herself turn away and face the south, then started down the windward side of the dune.